Welcome to the Ordinary Guy Garage. I'm Scott, an ordinary guy. This is Bean, an extraordinary kid. Anyways, we were having a lot of fun the other day driving the old Chevy, and I covered it in another video, but we were learning how to bang gears, and we banged second, and it was a lot of fun. And we went for third, and we missed. And I'm supposing that it's probably because there's a clutch fan and a spacer together, and maybe all it took was a little bit of wobble. But when we missed third gear, it revved a little bit, and then we heard this bam, and I thought it was just a fan belt until we pulled over and realized that it was actually the shaft for the water pump snapped off. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's the water pump right there. It snapped off here, and like I said, I could probably say, oh, that's a cheap Chinese water pump or whatever. I don't care. Well, I do kind of, because this was expensive to fix. But I'm going to own that, because I'm thinking a spacer and a heavy clutch fan together is not a good situation. So anyways, that broke, and in doing that, it bent the pulley. The water pump pulley is mangled. The fan is mangled. The lower pulley got bent, and of course the water pump, and then the radiator. This was a radiator I had built a few years back just for when I put a small block in here, and it's copper, and it just mangled it. So I guess we're going to do something different. So let me move the camera over, and I'll show you what we're going to do. All right, so here's our collection of new parts we got going on. I pulled these off of a spare motor that I have in storage. Well, actually, it's his motor. It's going in his car. Don't worry, you still have other parts. But so I got some unbent pulleys. He has unbent pulleys, or pulleys that are good on his old engine. So we're good. We're good. Anyways, they're all cleaned up and painted. I just bought, I think this was a Summit brand, aluminum high volume water pump. See, the problem is, and the reason I put that spacer in was I didn't have a fan shroud in this, and it was starting to get hot when I was out driving around last summer. So I got a high volume, and so I put that spacer in on the, behind the clutch fan, which wasn't the thing to do. So now I got an aluminum high volume pump. Of course, I bought new belts because we lost a couple of them, and then there was one that was still on there, but it had spun around, so all new belts. Fan shroud, and there's an electric fan that hasn't got here yet, but we can still get this all wired up and everything in, and we'll just put the fan on. It's supposed to be here on Monday. And then of course our radiator that we got. This is a Summit, also a Summit brand radiator or whatever. But this one here, unlike the other one, my old one was only for manual transmission, and this one here has the holes in the bottom, so I could put an automatic if I want to. I don't know if this truck will ever be an automatic, probably not, or maybe, I don't know. Anyways, I have that option. And then of course, like I said, this, and I bought a painless thermometer or temperature unit. It's supposed to click on at 185 degrees, which will start the fan, and then at 175 it'll turn back off again. So we'll get this wired in and ready to go, and everything else installed. Oh, plus antifreeze. Got some more antifreeze ready to go in because I left all the rest of it out on the highway. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so right here we have this is the original radiator that came out, and of course this is the aftermarket aluminum one that I got from Summit. So this radiator here, I don't know if you can see it on there, but it measures 2 5/8 the width of the top tank. This one measures 3 1/8 for the width of the top tank, and then there's this hold down here that holds it. This hold down that holds it into up against the core support. And it's got the little rubber isolators in here, or cushions, or whatever you might want to call them, that fit into there. So what we have to do is, this needs to be a little bit wider, because if we look at it, however these things go in here. I guess it doesn't really matter. We're at 2.5 inches for the width between here, and obviously won't fit. So what I'm gonna do, I like everything to look like it, you know, came from the factory that way as much as possible. I don't like things hacked. So on here, it looks like I could probably get those little spot welds out. And then if I cut it back, so I have to add a 1/2 inch in here, and I figure if I cut it back here in it, where it sits behind this plate, and then move it out the 1/2 inch, and then tack weld it back in here, it'll hold it pretty good, and it should hide most of anything. And then on these rubber things, what I'll do is I'll just cut one right here, and then just, you know, silicone it or something back, so it'll all look like it came that way. There's also a corresponding set that's in the bottom of the core support that holds the bottom of the radiator up. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's my plan. All right, so here is the mount. I got it, the upper mount, I got it done. What I ended up doing, extended it a 1/2 inch. What I ended up doing was just cutting it. I started to drill out these from the top side, and it didn't want to come apart. It was kind of giving me a hard time. And so I figured I grabbed a piece of steel that I had, a piece of flat and 1/8 inch steel, and I just cut it, welded it to it, molded it in, built up the weld a little bit right here, and then ground a radius into it. So painted it. So it came out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. You know, that's just kind of the things that happen. You know, I started off thinking I was going to do one thing, and you know, it took me about, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours by the time I was all done, and it was something completely different. But I actually like that better. It looks a little bit neater. So the other thing I did some of this last night. I got the engine all stripped down of those old parts that we just looked at, and I touched up the paint on here on the front of the engine, and then you could see, it's kind of dark in here, but you could see these here I also extended. What I did was they're riveted, and man, you just can't see in here, it's kind of dark, but these are riveted, and I drilled out the rivets and took these off and just put a piece of strap on the bottom, you know, welded it in. These here I added 1 inch to, and they fit really nice. And then I just bolted it back together. So they're bolted in instead of, oh no, you can see that one nicely. They're bolted in. Ah, there's my lighting right there. So that's all ready to go right there. Front of the motor's all ready to go. And so yeah, I think we're ready. Yeah, this motor used to be in a different car, and it was black. And so I painted it with the orange because I wanted the old school look in here, and the paint isn't really sticking all that good. So I tried to touch it up some, but it'll be good. It's good for a driver. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get going. All right, we got our gasket set on here with a little bit of silicone. I'm gonna go ahead and get this set up. Bean's gonna do a lot of the bolting together on this. That one goes in. Now these bolts go straight into the water jacket on the block, so those top ones are just set in, but I got some of this stuff here that is Blue Monster pipe stuff. Man, it works really good. I use it on a lot of things, on head bolts and stuff like that, and it seems to work pretty good. Just put a little bit on, not that big, not that much. Get it started. Pull that one back out. I just used it as a way to hang that up at the top. A little bit of sealer on. You want to go ahead and get started? Tighten them up. Don't tighten it down yet. Okay, now you can. Now you can go ahead and tighten it down. See those three?
Yeah.
See, this thing here has a lip on it, right there, see? And so that lip will sit inside of that balancer right there.
Alright.
And then you put those three. You want me to get one in there for you, or do you want to?
I got it.
Put that one. They don't go there. They go down here.
The ones that look brand new?
Yes. We're going to also put some washers on those too. Those are fine thread. See?
Yeah.
5/16 by 24 is that. Here's this is a 3/8, but this is 18 threads per inch, 24 threads per inch. So that's water pumps are fine thread. It was funny when I was looking in the Summit catalog, people were saying, I've never seen one, I had to go buy bolts for fine thread. I've never seen that before in my entire life, and on and on and on. I've never seen a water pump that didn't have fine threads on it. So, it is what it is, I guess.
They might be talking about imports. That one hurt a little bit.
Uh-oh.
It's different sizes.
Okay. This is a center bolt.
Alright.
It's a 5/8. All right, so I went ahead and skipped ahead a little bit. Got all the pulleys and everything on. Notice no fan anymore to go into the radiator. Everything's all bolted in, ready to go. Looks pretty good. I kind of like that raw aluminum look. I'm not a big fan of the polished parts. I mean, I like a polished air cleaner or valve cover and all that, but not too much. But anyways, that's that. I'm thinking about the battery box is over here, and so I'm thinking about running the relay and all that down here underneath the battery where it's kind of hidden out of the way. So let's go over to the bench and see what we got. All right, so this is the painless kit that I bought. It's pretty good. It's got the like circuit breaker for the main power to come in. It's got a relay for the switch, and it's got a temperature sensor that I'll screw into the cylinder head, and that'll turn the fan on and off. Comes with an adapter in case that's not the right size. I think it is though. And also the little doohickeys and all that. And then a neat little wiring harness. But I think all this tucked up underneath that battery tray will look pretty good. And then of course our schematic here, which is really basic. Basic deal here.
Can't really see it.
Oh, can't, yeah, gotta get it.
Can't see it any
No,
better.
you gotta get it up like this. See, there's the schematic right there. So, anyways, we're gonna figure this out and then we'll check back in. All right, so we got everything together. Radiator is in, mounted. Got the new bracket that I made. Looks pretty good. Pretty happy with how that came out. The front of the motor's looking good. Got the touched up paint. All the brackets are on. What I ended up doing here, bring it down. I don't know if you could see it, but all the wiring is tucked up underneath the battery box. Just have one wire left to go, which is this wire here. That will be for the radiator, for the fan. I still got to put the fan and shroud on. That's not on yet because of the fan's not here yet. So, but looking good. Came out nice. Take 7. All right, so that wraps up what we can get done today. I bought that radiator and it came in a kit from Summit Racing. It was the radiator, it was a fan shroud, and it was the electric fan, and it was $550 or something like that. I can't remember. It's a 4-row radiator. They sent, most of the parts came from Nevada, which whenever they come from Nevada, I get them the next day. But the fan itself was from Ohio, so it won't be here until Monday, and it's Saturday right now, so we got a couple days. But anyways, it's all together, everything looks good. Bean did a heck of a job getting everything bolted in there and getting it done. So it was kind of a special day to be able to work with your son on something like this. And like I mentioned before, this used to be my dad's truck. And so anytime we work on it, he's here in spirit. So we really appreciate that. And but anyways, that's it. I will see you next time. I think maybe when I get that fan, I'll make a quick video putting that fan in and a firing up of it. But until then, have a good day, have a good weekend, and whatever you do, stay safe.
Oh yeah, I'm still expecting those pulleys back.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you pulleys back. Uh-oh. All right, take care.